Hello everyone, it's Rachel and welcome back to Book and Bloom. Today I'm going to be sharing my top 10 favorite Agatha Christie books, and this video is perfect for anyone who's interested in diving into Agatha Christie, or maybe you are a fellow Christie lover and you just want some good recommendations. So I split up my favorites into two different categories. So first we have kind of the more famous books by Agatha Christie. A lot of these have become movies. I'm sure there's been some series made out of these too. So these are her more like iconic, famous pieces. And then these I think are just more my subjective favorites. So take it as objective favorites that are like a lot of people really love these. And then my more subjective favorites, the more kind of oddball, not everyone loves these. These are not as highly rated like on Goodreads, but I really love these. I just want to geek out about them and talk about them. So if you want something that is a little bit different, a little bit unique from her collection, these are my five. So, but first, these are the five that I would tell someone who's interested in Agatha Christie to pick from. First two, I would say, of course, Murder on the Orient Express and Then There Were None. These two I would say are definitely her two most famous works. This book I would say is perfect for winter time, perfect for snowy weather if you happen to live in it, or if you want to feel like you're in snowy weather, which is me most of the time during the winter because it does not snow where I live. This is an Hercule Poirot. If you're unfamiliar with Agatha Christie, she has a few detectives that she has like series of mysteries with these detectives, and her number one detective is Hercule Poirot. That's her most famous character, and he is definitely such a fun character. I love reading his mysteries, learning all the inside jokes and everything through following his mysteries. This is set on a train on the Orient Express. Their train breaks down and somebody was brutally murdered. Hercule Poirot is conveniently on the train when this happens, and so he is investigating the crime, and he's beginning to discover that a lot of people on this train did not like this person that died. This is a really, really fun one, and definitely I would say her most famous work, and definitely deserves to be as famous as it is. If you don't know where to start, I would say start here maybe, because you get introduced to Hercule Poirot. He's in a lot of her really good mysteries, and so it's the most kind of iconic, notable Agatha Christie book because it's not just a really good mystery that has a lot of elements that just are distinct Agatha Christie, but also, of course, you have Hercule Poirot. So yes, this is such a fun book. Next, I would say her second most famous, I mean that's arguable, I don't know, but another really good, really great mystery by Agatha Christie, And Then There Were None. This one's really interesting because a lot of Agatha Christie books are set up where somebody is killed and then somebody is investigating, and you kind of follow the person who's investigating the crime. You're talking to the different people, and it might be an actual detective, it might be just someone who knew the victim or knows the family or whatever, and is just investigating on their own. So you usually follow the aftermath. You typically get a little bit of, you know, things that happened before the crime, and then most of it is like after and like the investigation and stuff like that. But this one's different because you follow the victims. It definitely has a spooky vibe to it because all of these people are being invited to this house and think they know this person that is inviting them, but they actually don't know the person that's inviting them. All these people are invited to stay at this secluded house on an island. A lot of creepy things, just unsettling things begin to happen, and I will say that there are lots of characters, so that can be kind of jarring to keep up with all the different characters. Christie is very known for is just having lots of twists and turns and very like shocking endings and like who did it. I feel like this is more of a slow slow burn sort of mystery, because to me it felt like it's not really about the end, more about the whole experience. Next up is Crooked House. So this one is not a detective or anything like that. This is just somebody who is just investigating what happened because they know the family. I would say that this book, if you've seen Knives Out, this book most resembles that. I feel like Knives Out and Glass Onion, they definitely, I mean, there's no way that they haven't taken lots of inspiration from Agatha Christie, but of course put their own like spin on it. Definitely recommend those movies if you love mystery. When I was watching Knives Out, that movie really reminded me of Crooked House, because this book is about a family, this kind of crazy family that is dysfunctional and they all live under the same roof, and then somebody dies. The main character, he is in love with, I think maybe the granddaughter. I think the grandfather dies. I could be mistaken, but I think the grandfather dies, and so his death was very suspicious. That's another thing you will see with a lot of Agatha Christie books, is just don't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone, and most of the time anyone and everyone can be a suspect, and most characters have some sort of reason why they may have done it. And that's what makes it so fun, because the main character is investigating things. They find out other information that's, you know, can sometimes be unrelated, so it kind of like, you kind of have to figure out like what's relevant, who could have done it, what was their motive. Yeah, this book is crazy. I mean, all of these books are crazy. I think that sums up this book, but I would say, to me personally, the ABC Murders, I think this book has the absolute craziest ending to me, especially because I will say that this is not a fast-paced book. Even though a lot happens, it doesn't really feel like a fast-paced book, because what keeps on happening is that Hercule Poirot gets a letter from somebody, and then somebody gets killed, and he tries to figure out who it is, and he still can't figure it out who it is, and then it's just, there's like several murders that occur, and he's trying to figure out their connection and who could have done it. This is basically like about a serial killer. One thing that's in common with all of these murders is that the person who died, their name and their last name start with the same letter, and they're usually in a place that is also starts with that same letter. So first they start off with A, and then they do B, and then they do C. He's terrified that this person is gonna keep going and going and going. It's very interesting because usually Hercule Poirot is like, he's super smart, crazy cool, and he can figure out, you know, he's kind of like Sherlock Holmes is known to be this amazing detective. Hercule Poirot is an amazing detective, but this case stumps him for a while. But the ending, I'm telling you, the ending is so crazy, because there are different scenes in this book where you're following someone, and what is happening with this person is just seems very suspicious. I love this book. It's so worth the slow, like sometimes there's some slower pacing moments, but I'm telling you, it is worth the read because the ending is absolutely insane. Yep. Highly recommend that one. So the last book that I'm going to be talking about in this category is Five Little Pigs. Of these books, I think this one is the least popular, but I still think that this is a very notable story. I remember when I was getting into reading Agatha Christie, I kept on hearing about this one and how like interesting it was and how good it was. This one's really interesting because it is a cold case that's being reopened by the daughter. The big thing that's really interesting about this book is unreliable narration, because they're talking about events that happened so long ago. You don't know if people are telling you what they genuinely thought happened. you know, their side of the story. You don't know if they're changing it, they're leaving certain details out. You don't know if they're telling the truth. And of course that happens in, you know, any of these books, but it's especially interesting that these are events that happened a long time ago. So you don't have the crime scene anymore, you know, you just have these people, these different witnesses, their side of the story. So the painter was murdered and the wife was tried, convicted, and sentenced to prison. Their daughter, 16 years later, she's convinced her mother is innocent. And so she presents the case to brilliant detective Hercule Poirot. I like the element of it being like a cold case that they're bringing back up. I just think that's really fun, and it's really interesting just the time gap. Every person that shares their story, I mean, they could be telling their side of the story, but even if they're being completely honest, they're still using their perception of what happens. Their perspective can't possibly be exactly what happened because everyone remembers things a little bit differently. Yeah, I think this one's kind of summery vibes because I think they're by the ocean. Rich people is kind of interesting, and there's always some unearthing of drama and scandal typically. That is the first category. Now I'll be getting into my personal favorites. A lot of these are not as highly rated. I just think that these are really unique books by her. So let's see, where should I begin? So first up is Remembered Death, which was originally titled Sparkling Cyanide. I haven't even mentioned this, but I love like these covers. Some of these are from like the 70s. I found this collection in like a thrift store and I just had to have them. I just love like how small they are. Ugh, I just love them. But anyway, so this one is about this woman. They think she committed suicide, but turns out she didn't. It's been a while since I've read this, but it says that a character receives a strange anonymous note almost a year after Rosemary's death. It all started at her birthday, and 6 guests saw her take a glass of champagne. Suddenly, she slumped to the floor dead. The verdict: suicide by poison. I don't understand why they would think that that was a suicide, but okay. They declare her manner of death to be suicide, that she put the poison in her own champagne glass, killed herself on her birthday. There's no way it was suicide, of course. It's never suicide. That's never the option with an Agatha Christie books. There's lots of just talking to each of the characters that were there the night of her death. Definitely a slow burn mystery from what I remember, but I just really enjoyed like learning about each of the characters and just unfolding kind of the mysteries of each character. I just really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed all the dynamics of each of the characters and how they're all friends, and there's just lots of twists and turns in this one. I just think this one was just really interesting, really fun, and so this one ended up being one of my favorites. Like, this one is not as like crazy as some of Agatha Christie's other ones. It's just like a slow, steady, interesting mystery. I highly recommend this one, and I just love this cover. Can we just appreciate this cover? Like, look at the back too. It's like, whoever designed this, I stinking love this. I love the colors. I love the like black and white with the pops of color. Next up is The Secret of Chimneys. When I just said that this one's like kind of a slow, like more focuses on like investigating and like, you know, learning about the characters and stuff like that, this one is all action. This one is just puzzles and mysteries and just craziness. I love this one. It's not a popular book, which I think is really interesting. I just think it's really fun because you're following these characters and all these crazy things are happening to them, and so then they're just kind of like, you know, trying to deal with these things. They're not getting the police involved. For instance, somebody tries to kill a character, the person that tried to kill them ends up dying, and so then they have to dispose the body, and just like different things like that happen through this book. So the Great Manor of Chimneys was a quiet and secluded estate where politicians discreetly settled affairs of state, and often affairs of quite a different kind were consummated. But all was changed when a pack of shocking love letters, a set of scandalous memoirs, and the bloody corpse of a famous man turned Chimneys into a place of murder and menace. A place where the fate of a nation hung on a beautiful woman's innocence or guilt. Dun dun dun. Maybe I should just read the back of these books because it's more concise than what I can say about these books most of the time. I fell in love with the characters, so that is one thing that I love about this book, is just the characters are really fun and there's lots of action, there's lots of drama. I would highly recommend this one. This one I feel like is fast paced because there's just so much that happens. Next up is The Pale Horse. Now this one is definitely an oddball choice. It might not be for everyone, but I loved this book, not necessarily for the mystery and like what the heck is, you know, you're kind of thinking like what the heck is going on. That part is fun too. Like there's kind of a spooky element to this one because, you know, what appears to be supernatural things going on. But I just stinking love these characters, and this is kind of like basically a love story in disguise. It's not necessarily the most mind-boggling, you know, crazy book ever. Your brain probably won't somersault in your head like with ABC Murders, but this one is still really good. The mystery itself is pretty interesting and mysterious. I mean, the ending wasn't necessarily my favorite, what they uncovered, but I just was really compelled to read this book because of the characters. This woman is dying, and so she gets a priest to come visit her as she's dying, and she like basically tells him like, you know, take this list and please, you know, stop it, you know. And it's like, what is she talking about? That's one thing that's fun, is that there's like typically a cast of characters list. The newer books don't have that for some reason, but these older ones, they do, which is very helpful, really nice. So if your book doesn't have that, you might want to keep track of that yourself when you're reading some of these books, because I will say that Agatha Christie, she likes her characters. There's kind of like a conspiracy going on. The story of a conspiracy to kill to order the Pale Horse. I'm gonna drink my coffee. It's conspiracy of kill to order. This guy, Mark, I believe he's the main character, he kind of gets involved in this and investigating it. And then one of the people that he meets is a girl named Ginger. Kind of low-key of love story. So that's a fun element to this book that I think is really unique, because I mean, some of Agatha Christie's books have that element in it. Like I was reading Towards Zero, it's like she tries to go for that in that book, but it feels unsuccessful because you don't even really see the two characters interact with each other that much. It's not believable by the end, but this one is like really believable because they're going through this like crazy ordeal together, and yeah, it's really fun. So yes, highly recommend this. And then on the flip side, this book, Endless Night, this is a one-of-a-kind Agatha Christie book. I mean, I haven't read all of her mysteries, but this one is just incredibly unique because this is not a murder mystery. This is not a whodunit. You read this book thinking, this is Agatha Christie? Like, this is an Agatha Christie book? There's some mysterious things about it that like kind of tied in where you're like, okay, maybe this is a Christie book, but then you just keep reading it and you're like, like, when is it gonna happen? When is the murder gonna happen? Like, when is this going to become a whodunit? But it never does. It never becomes a whodunit because it's not a whodunit. This book is so crazy, so unique. If you took a shot every time I said crazy in this video, you'd be dead. We won't say alcohol shots. We'll just say like shots of coffee. You'd be dead. You'd be dead from too much caffeine. I'm sorry that I don't have a wider range of vocabulary words to describe these Agatha Christie books, but I just feel like that's the perfect word to describe them. It's crazy. This book is a love story. It's about a girl who meets a guy and they fall in love and they get married, and you're just following their story. But this whole, like, this part on the back, you think that, oh, you know, you think it's gonna be an Agatha Christie. So this one is kind of got like a haunted house sort of, you know, ooh, spooky. I mean, a lot of these are spooky. So a lot of these are really good for Halloween. I would say this one's really good for Halloween. Pale Horse is really good for Halloween, and then maybe Crooked House. I think those would maybe be the best for Halloween, but really any of these. I feel like murder mystery is just really fun to read during fall season. Well, actually all year round. I love murder mystery. It's just fun. I just love the element of investigating. With Agatha Christie, you feel like you're a part of the investigation and you kind of get to piece it together before the big reveal at the end. I mean, every book is different, and this one especially is very different, very unique. You follow his perspective the whole time. You follow their relationship and how they fall in love and get married and buy this house. Yeah, the mystery of like the house and like, is it haunted, and like what's going on, you know. This book is absolutely insane. Like the last section of this book is so crazy. The last book, which is also a mind-boggling, brain somersaulting sort of book, is The Murder of Rodger Ackroyd. I was gonna say of Hercule Poirot. No, that's not true. This is a Hercule Poirot mystery. I would say that this is a mystery you should read if you are familiar with Hercule Poirot, if you've read a few of his mysteries. I mean, you don't have to, of course, but I think you would appreciate it even more because there are a lot of inside jokes and stuff that happen in this book that you wouldn't really get necessarily if you're not familiar with some of the jokes and things that happen in a lot of Hercule Poirot's mysteries. But you would still, I mean, you'd still be able to enjoy this book and love it. Like, it is so funny. It is so fun. I did not expect that. You know, I don't usually expect that with Agatha Christie books, you know, to laugh while I'm reading it. But this book, I laughed. I just really enjoyed the friendship. The character's point of view is a doctor who knew the person who was murdered. You're following his point of view, and then Hercule Poirot, he happens to move into the house next to this person, to where this person lives. So he's neighbors with Hercule Poirot, and Poirot is not interested in investigation right now. He wants to retire. He wants to just be done with it. He just wants to garden. And who can blame the man? You know, he's been through a lot. He's had a long career. But of course, he gets swept up into another mystery. This is another one of those mysteries that I feel like the ending is the part that just like makes this whole book so good. I do really enjoy like the whole experience because I enjoy the interactions between the main character and like Poirot, and I feel like they become kind of friends because Poirot, he usually has a friend who comes with him a lot of times during his mysteries, sort of his Watson, but in this book he's not there. So the point of view, he kind of becomes like almost like a Watson-like character to Poirot, and so you're getting to see kind of a different perspective because you're not seeing it from the eyes of Poirot, you're seeing it through the eyes of this doctor. This book is crazy, and your brain will somersault in your head. These, I would say, are the most crazy mysteries I've read by Agatha Christie. If you want just a crazy plot twist, like Shutter Island level plot twist, then read these books. If you haven't seen Shutter Island, you need to watch Shutter Island, and you need to see The Prestige by Christopher Nolan. That movie is also insane. The perfect movie recommendation for those who love Agatha Christie, because it kind of pokes fun of Agatha Christie the whole time. And she's literally like, she's in this movie. A character plays her in this movie. See How They Run? That movie is really fun. That's a bonus recommendation, I guess. But yeah, so these are my favorite Agatha Christie books. I hope you now have a long list of books that you'll add to your wants to read list, and I would love to hear if you guys ever do pick up one of these books. If you guys like Christie too, let's talk in the comments. And yeah, what are your thoughts on any of these books? What is your favorite Agatha Christie book? I'm sure anyone who's watching this video would love even more recommendations, so make sure to look in the comments below to see some other recommendations. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed geeking out with me on my favorite Agatha Christie books. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time. Read a book and bloom on. Bye!